Okay, all praise to the Most High God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And it's your brother Michael here, just coming to you with a pretty, quick video. Sometimes just looking out on the landscape, you're just seeing a few things out there in the social media streets. And, you got some people that are in the more of the, the fame, right? They got fame. They got fame on the social media. What's the word called? Social media standings, if that makes sense. Where most people follow them, they follow their doctrines and their teaching and whatnot. But I guess something that's kind of surprising to me is that, you know, you got to come in the fullness of the book, right? And so being in the fullness of the book, one of the things is being under the fruit of the Spirit. And that's something I really don't really understand sometimes is that why these guys don't utilize the fruit of the Spirit. Anyways, whatever the case might be, maybe just due to them being leaders for such a long time, right? The patience of the saints is worn down, and that is something that can be a bit of a struggle sometimes, right? The suffering of that, right? But at the end of the day, if you notice by the title of this video, is that this trait is a part of the fruit of the Spirit, and that is long suffering, right? And sometimes you kind of see that kind of go away, in leadership, right? So, and I guess that's why the scriptures also talk about, give double honor to them, right, that are in leadership, because of the amount of like tribulation and suffering that they go through. But the one thing, if people can utilize leaders, wherever it may be, right? So I'm not trying to rebuke them in any way, but at the same time, if I can give some type of counsel or maybe suggestions, because that's what Apostle Paul did, right? He did give counsel in a lot of his letters, right? Never really going against the commanded instructions of the Old Testament. So, but with that being said, it's still lined up with the Old Testament, right? And so I'm just going to bring up right here and just go to two quick verses, and we just should this should bring it home. This should truly bring it home. Galatians 5:22, right? But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, right? Long suffering, the fourth one listed. Gentleness, goodness, faith, meekness, temperance. Against such there is no law. And I think sometimes that can be forgotten along the way in your walk. I really do believe so. Like, these things are just, they're one of the best weaponry, the best ammunition to use against the law. So if somebody tries to come hit you with the law, that's an easy block. That's an easy defense. All you got to do is be in these 9 traits that are all part of the same fruit. It's all one fruit, or let's say 9 parts of the fruit, right? If that, to kind of bring it down to its simplest form, right? Long suffering. Okay, he talks smack about me. Okay, he says something about me, right? Do not give vengeance. Do not repay evil with evil, right? Amen, right? So, long suffering, right? That's what is commanded of us. That is what's recommended to us. And I believe, some of these guys should follow it more often. And grace is going to be given to those that follow this pattern, right? And just to kind of finish this off right here, 1 Corinthians 6:7. Okay. Now therefore, there is utterly a fault among you, right? Which is kind of what I've seen, because you go to law with one another. So they're not going to law with one another, which is a good thing, right? Why do ye not rather take wrong? Why do ye not rather suffer yourselves to be defrauded? Which, again, right, it can be tough sometimes. It can be tough to always take the high road, or always be the one being talked about, going through tribulation, going through persecution. But it is called to all who believe in the Messiah to hold this spirit of long suffering, to really I said hold it, but to really perform or act out the spirit, or be in this spirit of long suffering, right? Because it gives you grace, it gives you favor, it gives you a whole lot of things, that a whole lot of benefits in this time, right? So long suffering got to be shown more, man. We need to be in the spirit of long suffering more, right? So I just felt like that needed to be said, because you're seeing this back and forth, and then it's sad sometimes, because when the 2 leaders of camps or ministries or assemblies, whatever the case might be, go at each other, you got the other rest of the congregation going at each other too, right? It's just a part of the thing, and that can be kind of addicting. That can be kind of intoxicating. You understand what I mean? Which is why this goes so much more deeper too. This is why you gotta be sober as a leader, man. Because if you're gonna be drunk over like toxic situations, right? all of a sudden, you know, it seeps into like your spirit seeps into everyone else, into your congregation, and then it becomes a whole mess. It becomes a whole war and a riot on the social media streets, and then this is the representation of the Messiah. I don't think you want this, you know, this ripple effect to go through, right? This, which is why, you know, you gotta be sober and vigilant, and again, be under the fruit of the Spirit, right? So, or be working in the fruit of the Spirit, as I said in Galatians 5:22, man. So, man, I pray this was edifying, man. You know, if you all have, you know, comments, if you like the video, like it, you know, you know, and share it if people need to hear this and if they need this type of message, right? Because, you know, this is always going to be in benefit to them, right? Anyone that's under the assembly or the Church of Christ, right? This is for you guys to always be operating under the fruit of the Spirit, right? So, with that, man, much shalom. I'll see you on the next video. Peace.